All right, YouTube, what's up? So it's been a while. Sorry, I've been super busy with the real job, but this beautiful little car might be going away soon, actually. And I wanted to make sure and get my full review for you guys up on the web. And I think my theme for this review is going to be smaller is better. And over the last 20 years, all of our cars have gotten bigger. I think maybe people have gotten bigger too. But I think really that's what BMW captured with the M2 is a small coupe. You know, a small coupe, let's say, we'll say affordable because it's a lot cheaper than M3. You know, a loaded up BMW M2 is almost 20 grand less than a loaded M3 or more. And you're getting a lot of the same kind of bang for the buck. They miss a couple things that I like about the M3. We'll go over those slight kind of, I won't call them negatives, but my wish list for an M2 or an M2 CS. The things I wish this M2 had that I missed from my 2016 M3. But for the most part, I absolutely love the M2. It's the right size. It's not such a big car. It's a fairly short car, so not very long front to back. But definitely they gave it that beautiful, you know, those beautiful flared fenders with that full, so it's on a full M-Track suspension. So all your suspension components, front and rear, are coming from an M3. And it's awesome. We've got an N55 instead of an S55 in the M2. So that's the engine code. That's basically your 335 motor. They made all the way up to 2015. They started it back, I think, in 2009 probably. 2009, I think, was the first year of the N55. So single twin scroll turbo. I believe this car makes 365 horsepower. I think that is actually a little underrated. I think it makes a little more power than that. Car is about 3,400 pounds. So a great power to weight ratio, tons of torque. These cars, man, they just, when you look at a horsepower and torque ratio, you know, a lot of these cars, they make it for 1,000 RPMs, between 5,000 and 6,000 RPMs. You know, where BMW's done such a good job is their turbos are not laggy. They come on at like 1,500 RPMs and they hold all the way to like, you know, horsepower's climbing all the way to red line and torque's going to like 5,500 RPMs. So they've done a really good job of just formulating the car to really take advantage of that power. There's a lot of cars that probably advertise more horsepower than the M2, and I'm pretty sure the M2 would smoke them. You've got your M Sport, basically your nice M Sport brakes. On this car. They definitely had to go cheaper, a little cheaper, you know. So it's kind of like that middle ground. It can't be better than an M3. It'll encroach on their sales. So this car, unfortunately, is kind of like a Cayman. It had to fit a marketing slot. And because of that, you know, the brakes aren't quite as good as an M3. Actually, let's just go over my few gripes, my few negatives real quick and get them out of the way. There's not much, but let's just go over them. The brakes, they're good. Let's just get that straight. They're good, but they're not the same brakes on an M3. But they are good. If you push them really, really hard, you might get a little bit of fade on them. But I don't think 99% of the people out there aren't going to push them that hard. My other little teeny negative is, as much as I love the seats, I love the blue stitching and the look of them. They're great. The bolsters are kind of weak. I'm kind of a big guy, and I just don't feel like the seat holds me in quite as well as I'd like it to. And there's two things that go into that, and I'll go into my second negative. So it's not bad by any means, but I wish it had a little bit more of a special seat in the car. Being that it is a full M, that's basically just a 235 seat that they put blue stitching in and an M logo. And it is nice. It does look nice and it is comfortable, but when it comes down to aggressive driving, I wish I had something that held me in a little bit better. That brings me to my next one. The suspension on the car is awesome, but it's a one setting. So I wish I could firm it up sometimes. So for daily driving, it's great. When I want to drive aggressive, the car does have a little bit of roll side to side. And again, I'm being very nitpicky, but I wish I could flatten it out a little bit. I wish I could have a suspension setting that said, hey, let's just glue this thing down. It's not going to move side to side at all. And I could really just kind of get the best out of the handling. It does handle great. The suspension's great for all around driving, but these are just my little gripes. My other little negative would be the N55 motor. So I love this motor. It's really cool, but this is basically a 335 motor. They forged it, gave it some better cooling, and done a few things to it to kind of handle a little more power. But the thing that's kind of a bummer is that it's basically just like a tuned N55. And so they didn't change the turbo or anything. So it's basically like a JB4 or a Cobb tuned 335 motor. It is built, it is stronger, and it does have better cooling. And you really cannot extract extra power out of it because they have the single turbo basically turned up to 11. So there's really not much tuning. Even if you add an exhaust or an intake and you do a flash, you can get a little bit, but it's not much. So to get more power out of this thing, you're gonna have to do like a bigger turbo, basically, is where you're at. So although I absolutely love the engine and it has great horsepower and great pull, it's an amazing, amazing engine. And this car overall has great balance. I just, for the tuners, for the guys that like to mess their car, I wish they would have left a little more room to play with the power on the car. That would be my one thing with the N55. And S55, this motor it feels really good. On the S55 and the M3, it did have a little bit more kind of top end power. Your low to mid-range power on this N55 that's forged is really close. And to be honest, this motor sounds better than I think the S55 does, but yeah, so that's your differences. It's a great engine, and again, most people are gonna be very happy with the power that it makes. But I just wanted to go over a couple things that I personally wish were a little better. So those are my only suggestions. I'm not even gonna call them negatives. Things that I wish we could have done a little bit more on. So maybe for the next version or the hardcore version, I know they are putting the S55 in the next one, which will be cool. Hopefully it gets the better seats, and I'm betting it'll get better suspension too. So maybe the M2 CS is the ticket. If you're just needing a little more, like maybe somebody like me, just because I've had so many sports cars. Those are little things that I notice, but I love it though. I do. I love the car. Long Beach Blue. It's beautiful. It's the launch color. Matches the brakes. Matches the blue interior inside. I don't really know what else to say. You've got I went with the automatic transmission, the DCT. It's a great transmission. There are days that I wish it was a manual. But when I had a manual, I kind of wished I had an automatic sometimes. So it's sixes. The manual's $3,000 cheaper. The DCT is faster. The manual's probably a little funner, but you can probably extract a little more performance out of the DCT. So it really is, it's a tough decision. It really is. I think both transmissions are great, and whatever you decide, if you get an M2, you'll love it. I do like that basically there was only a few options on an M2. It came with H&K, the Harman Kardon radio. And then you can just basically get like like the exclusive pack, and it gives you your driver's assist stuff, and like a backup camera and a few things. So basically check most of the boxes. I think I got the wireless charging and the Apple CarPlay box. But yeah, check most of the boxes. I think it's worth it. They're actually really well priced. I like the little knee pad on the center console. It's pretty dope. I do love the interior. You know, I can see how they tried to keep it cheap, but I love how they did at least the Alcantara on the door panels and the dry carbon weave. You've got an Alcantara on your brake lever with that blue stitching that's just awesome. And then more dry carbon, and then more dry carbon on the dash, which I think looks great. Actually kind of reminds me of the old E92. But it is simple in here and nice. There's kind of like everything you need and nothing you don't inside the M2. It's got a good back seat. One thing BMW always does good is, like, it might be a little hard to get into the back seat, you know, on a coupe, but once you're back there, the seat's laid back, kind of down and back, and it really gives you a great seating position, and it's comfortable once you're in the car. I'm glad there's no sunroof on an M2. Who needs an extra 100 pounds on the top of their car? I don't. This car also has your M diff from the M3, which the diff is amazing. It's really kind of set. It's really what's made M special over the years, is having a real diff. You got your quad pipes, which I love. And then just great simple styling, but beautiful styling. And I get a lot of compliments on the car. People really love the color. And just, you know, just think it looks like a little hot rod. And I think that's what it is, you know. It's a great car. And if you're wanting to get into an M, and this is the one you can afford, you will not be disappointed. You'll have so much fun in this car. Inside and out, it's just great. But I think that's it. I don't want to go over too much more stuff. Great technology, navigation system, iDrive, all that stuff's great in the car. Great looks. I mean, overall, just amazing looks. They did such a good job of, like, you know, hitting that marketing slot of the cheaper M, but really making it look like a badass car. And I love that about it. I had mixed feelings about ordering the blue, but I don't know. Every time I drive it, I love it. And really, if you want some attention, and that's not really why I did it, but it definitely, people think it's a pretty car and love it. But all right, well, let's get to the good stuff. Smaller is better. Nice, short, wide, low, fun car with a little lighter than most cars, with plenty of power and great technology. But let's go do the driving review. All right, thanks guys. All right, let's go for a drive in the M2. I'm excited. I needed a good drive today. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Utah. And I'm ready to have a fun drive in this baby. I couldn't do my review for so long because I got this back to the States right when wintertime hit. Everything was closed. There was no fun place to drive it. So finally I'm out doing my drive. It's a little late, but let's see how she drives. In the canyon here. So one thing about the DCT is you really can just kind of keep both hands on the wheel and just concentrate on what's happening in front of you. I think the manual's more fun probably, but you can really extract a lot of performance out of the DCT. We've had a ton of runoff this year. Rivers are extremely full. A couple of cool things and not so cool things. So the gauges in the car, although they do look good at first, there's not enough contrast between your RPM like letters and the face of the gauge. And so I found myself on the Nürburgring, and whenever I was driving aggressive, kind of like having to double check where my RPM is and like having a hard time figuring out the feel of it. So I wish they would have done a better contrast on the gauges. Something that's cool, the car has tire pressure sensors that also have tire temperature. I started out this drive at 69 degrees. I'm already up to 85 degrees in the front. You actually get more temperature in your tires, little fact here, by braking, not by accelerating. So hard braking will help heat up the rubber on your tires. But we'll see what the tire temperature's at the top of the canyon here. So yeah, I'm super excited. This canyon just opened a couple weeks ago. Let's go for a drive in this baby and see how she runs. I've really had a lot of fun in this car. I haven't got to drive it as much as I've wanted, just because timing and how busy I've been, but it rips. It's got enough power and performance that you're backing out of it, you know, quite a bit. It's got plenty. Linear power through the whole power band. Yeah, it just feels good. I wish, like, again, like I said, when I walked around it, I wish it had a little bit tighter suspension when you're driving aggressive. That would be like my one gripe, is it does, you know, you're transitioning, going from left to right, it does have a little bit of back and forth. Like the Camaro that I drove, the thing was flat as can be. It didn't matter. Yeah, that thing was flat. So feels good. I think it's a good suspension setting for daily driving, and still aggressive enough to get on it and have some fun. And 55 sounds awesome. Revs really, really free. It is a very good engine. It's a very good engine in this, and the little tweaks they've done to it, you know, they've worked. It's good. It's got a lot of power. I mean, there's no need for a huge amount of power beyond this. But it would be fun to be able to tune it. It really just comes down to just fun. People like to mess with their cars, and I wish they would have left a little room in it for tuning, and that's it. But it rips. The size, you know, I feel very connected to the M2, just because it's so small. I can tell what the front axle's doing, I can tell what the rear axle's doing. It's got better traction than the M3 on the rear, I believe. It seems to hold the rear down. The M3's pretty tail happy, where this seems to be getting a lot better grip in the back. So front axle feels good too, but those have always felt good. M's have always had really good turn in, but been a little tail happy, which is fun. Yeah, but man, it just doing this climb, it's just ripping and gripping. That's the one thing I'll say, like, all the manual transmission guys, I agree with you. Like, they're super fun, they're way involving, but I don't know if you're noticing on the video just how easy it is for me to access the power of this motor and kind of keep it in its peak power band. It's really, really simple. It does, man. It feels good. A lot of people have complained about electronic steering. Honestly, like I can tell what the front wheels are doing. It's good. They've done good tuning on it. I think what else? I don't know. It's just, it rips. It rips. If you want to get into an M car, the M2 is, you know, your cheapest car, and I definitely do not think you would be disappointed with the car. So there you go. That's them too. That's a fun little drive. Let's look at our tire temperature. We're at 105. So we've got some temperature in them. Yeah. So just awesome. Great balance. The engine's not overpowering the chassis. Great traction. Good brakes. Awesome torque. You know, anytime I'm coming out of the throttle and getting back in it, it's just right there. That turbo is spooling so hard and just fast, and it's extremely fun to drive, and it's always there right when you want it. Yeah, simple, great cabin. Of course, your M wheel, awesome. I don't know if there's anything else. Yeah, freaking sweet. Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, this car's probably going away, but don't feel too bad. There's another one on the way. But yeah, I love them too, and I think you will too. If you guys get a chance to drive one, you know, go for it. Give it a shot. If you think about buying one, yeah, it's definitely one of the best cars of 2017 for sure. Anyways, guys, if you like the video, please like and subscribe for more content, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.